Hey guys, I think I had a mistake in the start of the show. There was a little glitch in the system and my intro didn't start, so it is now live. So I was talking and didn't realize I wasn't live. So I will give it a minute while people join. Hope you guys are doing good. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope it is a great busy season for those who are in the chimney business. I know quite a few people join us that are not in this business. I will, again, I had a glitch at the start, so it jumped right into the show when I normally have a little lead in, but I got a little early comment. Here we go. Rookie podcaster from Bart Ogden. Yeah. Bart, I still need you on this show, buddy. I need a little bit of your time one day. Bart is one of the best operators in the chimney business, and he stays a little bit hidden. He always comments, but he's got an amazing training protocol for his apprentices and his whole company. He runs a very successful business, and I need to pick your brain. I need people to know who Bart Ogden. A lot of people do, but some of the new people don't know who Bart Ogden is. And so, Bart, I'm going to call on you again, but I know you're a busy guy. Got a fascinating story about his life and what he does, and so love to have him on. But this week we had our company. I had a couple company Christmas parties, and I know it's that time of year for everybody, and it was just so exciting to get to talk, just get to thank all of our employees. They thanked me, but I'm really thankful for them. It's a team effort, and this year, I've talked before. We had one of our technician who's actually he has macular degeneration, and as a degenerative disease gets worse over time. And for a long time, we brought him in he came to work for me. He goes, man, I'll do anything. I just don't want to sit at home and draw disability. Kind of a younger guy in his 30s. And he could see okay, but he was legally blind, but he could see if something got real close to him. So we let him start sweeping chimneys with us, and we would set him up, and he would get the camera. We'd get him in and get the camera set up, and he'd sweep the chimney first and do as much as he could. He's actually very good at it because he did it all by feel and sight, or no sight. And one time it was late in the day, and we'd gone in, and my other technician was outside, and he was inside sweeping the chimney. And the homeowner came home, and he was in there. He was sitting in there in the dark, the guy sweeping the chimney, because he didn't use lights. And he forgot that it had gotten dark while we were in there. It's pretty funny, but then we would run the camera afterwards, and the technician, that had sight would watch the camera, and he would run the camera for the technician to watch the video monitor. And the point of this is he really felt useful, and he was very good, and he was working very hard. He worked very hard every day, and he was grateful for every day he got to work. And unfortunately, recently, he's with that type of disease. He he could not see at all. He had to be led around. It was getting dangerous for him, as you can imagine, just walking on a job site or in somebody's house. And it came to a day where we couldn't have him work anymore. It was just too dangerous. I'd called some disability places to see what I could do, what my liability was, what I should do. They were not helpful at all. But at the Christmas party the other night, I honored him and thanked him for giving us everything he could for as long as he could. And it was a pretty tearful moment for everybody in the Christmas party. But he got a standing ovation, and it was just epic. He doesn't have a lot of options, and he said that. He said, I'm grateful to work every day. I'm grateful. I wish everybody was grateful to have this job. I hear some, and I think I've mentioned before, bitching and complaining and this and that. He goes, I just wish I could run a truck for you. I wish I could drive myself to work. I wish I could see what you guys are talking about. I wish I could be like them. So it was emotional. It's kind of shaking me up a little bit, but it was still just an awesome moment. for him. His mom brought him. She was crying, her dad. And it was a great Christmas party and that really added a neat touch to it. And I think I've told you before, I can't see all of my here we go, all of my comments, so I'm gonna have to follow it along on here we go on this. Um, so with that being said, I wanted to talk this week about morning meetings. Some people don't have them in their business, and some people do. Here I got Cody Whitwood coming in late. It's chimney time, baby. He was out there busy selling. I got to tell you, I met Cody a couple weeks ago, and I really you can instantly like Cody. He's one of those guys that you instantly like him. He's just a good dude, and you could hang out with that guy all the time. So I'm sure you sell a lot when you have that kind of skill set like you do. I'm sure you communicate well with the customers, and you get a lot of chimney work out there. But so we didn't used to do morning meetings as a company, and as we grew, we did like weekly meetings, and then sometimes we get too busy, so we'd skip a weekly meeting, and then we do one a month. And it gets Cody gets coffee because coffee. Oh, it's not showing it. This is from Bart. Cody gets coffee because coffee is for closers. That's one of my favorite. Glenn Ross, I think, is the movie. It's so awesome. But anyway, so on morning meetings, we started doing just morning everyday meetings, and I'm going to go over what that is for us every day. Now, I should have had some kind of pictures of our morning meetings, and I've shown it a handful of times. And not that you have to take what we do, but have some type of a group, interaction as a team. And one thing I show a lot or when people come visit me, my mornings are not rushed at all. Like, I'm not out there cracking the whip and everybody in chaos. It's a very relaxed start to the day. And I pride us in that. And some people look at it and like, man, these guys are just sitting around talking. And now there's a group working and there's a group loading trucks. And, we have everything already pre-staged for the morning. And that's very important. Before we get to the morning meeting, everybody's truck is loaded, and the night before, everything is pre-staged on carts or in areas so that everybody, when they roll in, they make sure their truck is ready, and then they get to load their truck, and then they come to the morning meeting. We start at 7:35 is when our morning meeting is, and it's exactly the same time every single week, every single day. Every day that we have this meeting, it's exactly at 7:35. That meeting starts. You can count on it. I think that's important if you're going to have these morning meetings, that they are exactly at the same time every day, and ideally for the same length. Now, sometimes they run a little bit long, but they can't run too long, and they can't run into a lot of like rabbit trails and war stories. So I got a couple more things. Cody, and this is one of his things, and I'll talk about this in a minute. He uses Alan Rush's morning meeting minutes, and I'm going to talk about that. That is a great sales tool. And so let's just talk about, I've got a little banner here, which is morning meetings. Why? Why do you even have them? First of all, it develops your culture. If there's ever a time that you build your team, it's in the morning. It's not at night. It's not in the afternoon. Because in the afternoon, everybody's working, but at night, everybody's coming in and wants to go home. So the only time you have to really build culture in your company is, especially for us, where most of the technicians come in and then they're out all day long and then they come back. When that's what your business is, the only time you have is that morning time, that morning 15, 30 minutes time. And to me, that's super important that we get to know each other. That's the most important time for me as the owner, to be there with the people, to talk to them, to get a feel for the business. After that, and I've said this a lot, this is my most important thing I do in the day is be there for the morning meetings when we have them. Because if not, I miss them. I sometimes don't get to talk to them at all. We've got a lot of employees, so you may not get to speak with them at all. So to me, that's the why. That's the why that you're going to have a morning meeting is it's a data collection meeting. It's a morning kind of data collection of what happened yesterday. And it's also a morning meeting to just check up on the teams before they get out for the next day. The number one problem in most businesses is communication. Whenever I've consulted with businesses, worked with them, brought them in, gone to their places, it's everybody always says communication. So what is the communication breakdown? Because they'll say it's between jobs, it's between techs, it's the office, it's the customer. But for us, and that still happens, every business has problems with communication. But what you almost can't say with us is that there's not enough communication from leadership and management. Because if anything, we are over communicating all the time. In fact, sometimes people get tired of meetings, right? You're like meeting, and you're tired of it. But there's a lot of communication, constant communication going on. And you have to say the same thing over and over and over a million times. But that's why you have a morning meeting. Now I'm going to go over the anatomy of a morning meeting for us. But this is just what we developed. It's not even important. If you look at this anatomy that I'm going to show you how we do it, and you can pick some things out of it, great. It's really more important that you develop it for your company, what's important to you. I learned this first from a gentleman named Charlie Quayle. I saw him doing these meetings, and I kind of took some of the things I liked from him and turned into my meeting. And I know a lot of people have taken my meetings and tweaked it into what matters for them. The main thing is that you just have these. And I'm going to say this, the number one thing too about this meeting, in my opinion, is it's not a bitch session. It is not a time for everybody to complain or do any of that at all. You're going to notice the anatomy of my meeting is we start off with safety, we move through for operations, and then we end it with good stuff. Typically, we end it with attaboys and what we call Motivational Monday. So there's a flow to it to talk about everything we need to talk about and try to start the day off on a good positive note. Before I get into this, Bart says, communication is what the listener does. I like that. I haven't heard that before. It's up to the meeting leader to get good at it, facilitating their meeting to foster discussion, communication, and growth. Morning meetings get the ball rolling and light the fuse. Oh, I like that. Light the fuse. Yeah, we call it launching the show. We are getting everything ready to launch the show. And to me, the show is us going out, performing every day, talking to customers, doing our trade, doing a good job, and we launch the show. That's important for me to launch a show. Bart says it's lighting the fuse. Both of those are good. And thank you, Bart. That's so good. So let's just talk about the anatomy of a morning meeting. And I love the communication that's going back and forth because that's important for me to see what you guys are doing as well and just go through my my meetings. Okay, so here it is, banners. Okay, so let me just go back. So here's how we do it now. COVID kind of threw a loop in our morning meetings, everybody getting together every day. During COVID, during the worst parts of COVID, we stopped them all together. And then now we have them 2 days a week with everybody, but we're very spread out in the warehouse. I used to like it. We'd all team up and get close and let's talk. Unfortunately, that's not really how we do it now. Everybody's kind of standing back and they're still in there, but they're not as tight as they were. So what we do on Monday and Friday, we do these morning meetings with everybody. And we have the same process, and I'm going to go over that. And I also Zoom record these meetings. I have somebody standing there with a phone to Zoom record the meeting. and it sends it out to all the branches or anyone that wasn't there. It is recorded, and then it can be sent to the group as so everybody is still being communicated with, and I told everybody at the same time. So, so that's Monday and Friday. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have individual team meetings of divisions. So let's just say in our case, one day is a sweep meeting. So all the sweeps go into a smaller room with our chief financial officer. He goes through jobs, he goes through profitability, he goes through problems, questions. How do I make your day better? Is everything going okay? What issues do we need to go over? Wednesday is, I believe, gas crew, and they go up there. Same thing with our CFO, goes through the jobs. He goes through individual jobs at times if needed. And then on Thursday, I believe, is our sales meeting for our estimators and also our repair crew. They have a meeting. I might have these days mixed up because I'm not really part of those. I let my team manage themselves inside. So then that's Thursday, and then Friday back to the big meeting. So that's how we do it. I think it's important that everybody has small group time to talk, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then on the big meeting, it's more of an overview of things. So I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, please ask those in the comments. Let me just make sure I've got everybody answered. Okay, so the next thing is let's just go to, and this is what I was talking about. There's individual divisions and sales discussions, and we do use Alan Rush's morning meeting minutes in our sales meetings because he has just little tidbits of, Alan's ridden with, literally thousands of chimney sweeps, hundreds of chimney companies, and he has it really dialed down very well about the process of a sale or the process of communication. And I've heard some people, kind of rail on chimney sales or sales in general. If you do it right, you don't have to sell anything. I don't believe that's true. I believe what's true, because I've had the most amazing technicians not sell anything because they don't communicate it with the customer very well. And they talk over their head or they assume too many things and they don't sell anything. And I've had guys who weren't really very good at stuff sell a lot of stuff and they shouldn't have been. So there's a balance to that. I think you have to have both, but I think one of the most dangerous people out there is somebody that's very technically proficient, writes a big report on all these jobs and nobody buys it. Why didn't they buy it? Well, our morning sales meeting helps us make sure we're communicating that in the way the customer can understand that. And that's the most important thing. How much you know on codes and how much you know on details does not matter at all. How that customer perceives their problem and how you are the company to fix it, or how they need to make sure they know that this is a potential safety issue. I've looked back at my technicians' reports, and they wrote beautiful reports. And I looked at the pictures, and everything was right, yet nobody bought anything. I'm like, that's terrible. And so that's why we use Alan for that morning meeting, because you can have everything right, but if people aren't listening to you and literally buying, we have a kind of a nasty name for it. I'm not going to say it, but people sit there and shake their head and say all the nice things to you and then leave, and then they don't buy anything. That's as bad as not ever finding it. Okay, so first thing we go over, the anatomy of the morning meeting. We get everybody together at exactly the same time. Then we start with safety. We ask, our first question of the morning meeting is safety related. Did we have any slips, trips, falls, cuts, close calls, automobile wrecks? What happened out there? 360 days a year, there's nothing, but there are times when something happens. There is, hand cuts and slips, trips, those kind of things are the most common. The ones you really don't want to have are, a fall off the roof. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I had a technician climbing up a ladder. He had the ladder bolted at or attached to the ground. He had a stake through it. He was doing a lot of the right things. He was in a really windy environment. There was a apprentice on the roof. He climbing the ladder to hand the part of the liner to the apprentice, and a huge gust of wind came and blew him off the ladder, and he broke his leg. And so we can go over safety as a different thing, but my point is we talk about safety, and then we talk about what happened and how it should have been avoided, could have been avoided, literally from car accidents to hand cuts. That's pretty common. A lot of times it's something stupid we did or something we didn't think about jumped up and bit us. But we mark it on the wall. There's another reason we do that is for OSHA. When we're doing our OSHA 300 reports, we have at least a mark, some type of a notice of that. I can tell you when I've had insurance companies come in to do audits for us, and they ask about our safety program, they like seeing on our board. Now, let me just back up. All of this is on these huge whiteboards that are in our warehouse. So we have this all listed, the safety part and any issues on a whiteboard, and then that can be transferred into paper or digital. Let me see. I got a couple comments real quick. Let me see what those are. Codes matter. Kevin says, communication is definitely key. However, making them feel comfortable like you're not selling them something, in my opinion, is more productive. Yeah. So back to the sales thing, how that's important. I totally agree. If you feel like you're selling, stop selling. That's what Alan Rush says all the time. Do not sell. You don't have to sell anything, but you do have to make sure they do understand with the right amount of intensity how the problem is. Now, if we're talking about maintenance, maybe that's not a big deal. If we're talking about safety, there needs to be a little bit of a different talk, right? If you're talking about a small crack in a crown, yeah, that can lead to bad things. But if we're talking about a clearance to combustibles issue in a smoke chamber, or a clear violation that's, something's a problem, you need to make sure that you are communicating that well. So not to get off topic, but thank you, Kevin. That's true. So let me back up. I'm sorry, I should have laid this out a little bit better. Before the meeting starts, I told you I have people getting their trucks ready, people loading and getting everything ready for the day. There's also a guy walking around. He's ex-Marine for me. I guess there's no such thing as an ex-Marine, but he walks around. He walks all the trucks. He walks through the trucks, and he's got a checklist of basically 5 things that he's looking for. Is all the trash out of the truck? Is everything back up on the shelves and are the shelves marked? Is the cab clean? There's a couple other things that he's looking for when he walks every truck. And then he comes in, and then the next step after safety is the person running the meeting, which is not me, is he says, is there any van, or how are the vans? And if the guy that walked the trucks, he will call out a van number or 2 van numbers or 5 van numbers if they're a problem. And so let's just say he calls out van number 17. And so we put 17 up on the board. And that van has 24 hours. We call that being on red tag. He's got 24 hours to get his van off of red tag, or he gets a deduction in pay the next day. Now, some people may not like that, but there's got to be some kind. And in fact, the group voted on, I'm like, guys, how do I get you to keep your trucks clean? And they're like, you take money from us. So, I mean, they voted on it. Like, I agree. So it's a percentage off of their day to get if they don't get their truck off red tag. Now, let me clarify that. If they're on a multi-day job and the van is full of stuff, or the truck is full of stuff while they're working on a multi-day job, they don't get dinged. But sometimes the guys just get lazy. Sometimes they get, and so we have to have some type of a process to check the vans. And that's what we do. A guy walks it, he calls it out as he is. And the guys, if you're on red tag, you got 24 hours to take it off. We almost never have to have any kind of deduction in money, but it's a warning, and it sits there as a possibility. So the next thing we do on vehicles, does anybody have any issues with their vehicles? Is there anything happening, any lights on? Now, we have a GPS system that reports back to our mechanic. We have an in-house mechanic, but even if not, it sets up, say, you've got a code failure. It tells them anything that's going on with the van. So that's not as important as it used to be before we had this system. But if you don't have it, ask if there's any van issues, anything needs to be fixed, reported to the mechanic to keep an eye on. He keeps an eye on all the oil changes and everything for the vans every morning. Let's see, what else do we have here? So then the next thing, and I got this directly from Charlie, was there any issues with jobs yesterday? Or sometimes it's over the weekend if we worked over the weekend. So the question is, did anybody have any problems with any jobs? So we have 3 levels of problems. The first level is a red, which is, well, the red is the job didn't go off. Something went wrong, and but it wasn't our fault. The red was like weather issue. Who knows? Contractor didn't build something, like something out of our control was red and it didn't go off, and it was a problem. And we document what that was. Orange is our next color, which job didn't go off or get completed because of something we did wrong. Part was broken. We didn't check the box. We didn't have the right something on the job. We missed something. Communication was wrong. Had the wrong address, or all the parts didn't come in, or anything that was our fault. We call them handoffs. So there was a bad handoff between the estimator and the repair crew. There was a bad handoff between the office and the technician, or the technician didn't tell the office the right thing or the right amount of time to put on the job. So we mark that. Literally, it shows a month calendar on our whiteboard, and then the box for the day is either green is also everything went good. So obviously we're going for a green day. We want green days. We want green days, not the band, across the board. Green days are money making, efficient, everybody's happy days. So you can, we run a lot of trucks, so you can imagine it's kind of hard to get a green day. Everything went good, but man, we want those. And then when we write down a red or a orange, we write down the reasoning beside it. So when we are going into managers' meetings or planning, we can look at commonalities of issues and see if there's something we could have fixed. So let's just say it's a framing issue with a contractor, didn't have it framed right. Well, what could we have done differently? Could we have done a site check? Could we have verified measurements? There's almost always something you may be able to do to make a job go off. No power on the job. This happens to us with new construction. There's no way to run power. So that's what we do with the issues from the jobs yesterday. Got a comment. Let me read it real quick. So Kevin also says this is back on checking the vans in the morning before we start the day. He says 100% agree with that. A clean workspace and a safe workspace, and your main tool is your vehicle. Yep. Randy on my personal page, Randy Boucher says, how many stops are on a route per technician, that is? So for us, we go with 4. If you're a chimney sweep, if you're a gas division, 4. If you're an estimator, typically 4. Our quality control, when they run out to do quality control, they'll typically do 6 to 8 because it's more of a site check. We go back and check the job and check through, take pictures, write reports. Customers love it, and we're just checking up on, especially new technicians or anything we're having problems with. A quality control day could be a 4 to 8 stop, but they're not doing inspections. They're just doing site checks. So everything's level, everything's cleaned up right, customer's happy, understands how to use the appliance or whatever. And then repair crew, you never know. You could have one crew on a job for a week or a day, or they might do 2 jobs in a day if they're a repair crew. I hope that answers your question. All right, so the next thing, after the van checks and then issues with the jobs yesterday, we move to return trips, which is what do we have to go on yesterday that we had to go back on for no money? Basically, for why do we have to go back for this return trip? Almost all service companies have them. They say about 3% is normal. 3% return trip or revisit is kind of normal for a service company. And I know at one point we had a lot more, and so in this return trips, we look at this. What was it? Why do we have to go back out? And so was it workmanship? Was it something that we did wrong? Is it something we missed? Is it something we should have done differently? Is it customer service where we show the customer everything, but they still can't get their gas logs to light because they couldn't flip the switch, but we told the wife and not the husband. And I know sometimes that could be taken up on a video or customer service. We try to handle some of those with a FaceTime or anything like that, but sometimes we just have to go back out. Chimney's still leaking after we worked on it. Why is that happening? That's not customer service. That normally would be workmanship, or it can be warranty, something failed, or it could be additional work needed that was hidden at the time of service. But basically, what did we do? And then how long did it take us? And let's just say, our hourly rate is $300. And I'm not saying that's our hourly rate because it's actually more than that. But let's just say you have an hourly rate and then you wasted 2 hours on a return trip. That's $600, right? Of opportunity cost, that is. And if you put, a guy told me one time, if you put all your return trip and wasted trip, had the wrong address, delivered the stuff to the wrong thing, whatever the reason is, or your waste, if you put all that money in a fishbowl and you stuck it out in front of your company, and every time you had waste, you put what it cost the company in that fishbowl and filled it with cash, it'd make you sick to your stomach because you basically filled it with cash and lit it on fire. So waste is your number one problem in your company right now, almost for everyone. Mr. Waste is a very high paid, terrible employee of yours. And our job is to reduce Mr. Waste's salary as much as we can. So when we do these return trips and we write down what the return trip was, who the technician was, what was it, and then how long did it take us, we will then take all that information and use it in a data sheet or an Excel file, or talk about it in a manager's meeting about, okay, do we have a problem with a technician? Is it always this person? Do we have a problem with a product that's failing? Do we have a product with training, or a problem with training that we need more training on? Do we need to change how we do something? Do we need to develop better customer service on the front end so that they're not always calling with this problem? We put a wood stove in, but they don't know how to use it, that kind of thing. So a couple more comments. Let's see. Mark, Kevin is my new serviceman. Oh, for Kyle German. Okay, cool. Driving first in the fireplace, learning everything he can. Oh, cool. Well, welcome, Kevin. You got a good guy there with Kyle, and he is working hard. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I think this is Jim Brewer saying this. Says, "Go backs ain't greenbacks." I love that saying. That is absolutely true. Go backs ain't greenbacks. All right, so that's how we document the return trip. Now, sometimes the technician will say why he returned, and we will have a solution for it immediately. We'll say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about that for a second, and let's not into a big group, but let's talk really quickly about how would we solve that the next time. So that's the return trip. Thank you for all these questions and all this feedback, by the way. This morning, not long before, I tried to have a couple topics ready, and the guests kind of couldn't do them. So I'm like, I need to speak about something today. So this was it. Okay. So then the next thing was upsales wheel spin. This is kind of a fun, thing that we do, which is, for us, for every 5, so we have what's called upsales. That means you're on the job and you find something small that could be repaired. Let's just say it's a lintel seam gap or a hearth seam, or something could be waterproofed, or something that you could add on to the sale at that point. Well, I'll tell you one, and there's several things that we sell quite a bit of on a normal basis, like remote controls are really popular for our gas crew. Gas keys, some simple things, if they've got gas logs run to a prefab that we can sell, sealing up that little, where the gas comes through. That's not much, but it's something, or some probably people do it for free. Sometimes people ask us to paint fireboxes, and it can be all kinds of little things that you could sell. You could install a damper at the time of service. You could, you have ChamberTech or some other product that you could do right there, fix some kind of a hole or issue. And so we benefit. We have a prize for that. So every $500 in upsells that you have, so they'll say, let's say I upsold a dryer rent cleaning. It wasn't on the ticket. I upsold an extra thing while I was there, or I tuck pointed some steps while I was there, whatever. That money goes into a wheel spin category. So for every $500 you get a spin of the wheel. It's just one of those little click, click, click wheels with all the colors. We write down different stuff all the time, but it can be anything from a high five. It could be a hug, which isn't popular now with COVID, but $10 gift card, $10 cash, $20, Walmart or Home Depot. And then also on some of those, we include the office in them, where the office wins, a gas card or a Home Depot card or some kind of card along with the technician. So the office wins as well. That's always pretty fun. Recently during Trick or Treat, we had 2 boxes where you can get a trick or a treat. Right now we're going to have Christmas. We sometimes give away some really fun stuff as a special. The biggest prize on the wheel is a 5% of upsells up to $250 for the quarter. So they can win kind of an extra little check there on their upsells to spin. I think of it like this. Everybody is super busy. And if you can't do it right now, you're going to have to book something simple and take up a time slot in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, however far out you are. What a waste of time to go back and do something little. Lindeman University, several years ago, and they kind of coined the phrase "today's chimney day." And it's so perfect because I always remember Mike Bodart giving an example of Jiffy Lube. And when you would go into Jiffy Lube to get your oil change, you thought you were going in for the, $39 oil change. And they show you the 3 different kinds you could get, 39 here, 69 here, and 129 over here. So you pick, so that changed. And then they show you your wipers need to be changed and your air filter. They always show you the air filter. Do you want that changed? And if you said yes to any of that, they don't say, great, come back in 2 weeks, we'll put that on for you. They say, no problem, we've got it right here, boom, and you're out the door. He said that's how a lot of chimney repairs could be if we had the truck ready for chimney day. We call it our ice cream truck. The ice cream truck doesn't roll up into the neighborhood and then you say, I want an ice cream sandwich. And they say, great, we'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll bring that by your house. They got the ice cream trucks. They got the push-ups. They got all the things, the drumsticks. They're all ready for it, right? So your truck needs to be, we call it our ice cream truck. The truck needs to be ready to sell the easy, basic stuff while you're on the job site, if at all possible. So that's what our wheel spins do. And then also, we got another comment. We've got Kyle says, what are your thoughts on technicians? Oh, I got to show this to everybody. What are your thoughts on technicians being both gas service, inspect, sweep inspect? I believe having everyone on the same page, same book, same sentence. So if a homeowner wants to change from wood to gas, for instance, and have that technician know something to answer without having to make a call. So there's good and bad about that, Kevin. So at first, one of the biggest, unfortunately, wastes of money I ever did was cross-train all my employees in gas. Now, again, if you want to do it differently, that's no problem. But I can tell you this. When I did that, everybody got worse. Everybody knew something, but not enough. Nobody was an expert. And then you'd have, your sweeps doing all stuff, and then all of a sudden they got a gas thing they've never seen. Their truck's not fully outfitted for gas. And then you got a return trip, or they made some judgment call they shouldn't have. The best thing we ever did was make a gas division. It started with one guy, and one guy out of all of our guys did all the gas. You always had to call him. He always went on everything. He always had his stuff, and he became an expert. And then it was 2 guys, and now it's 5 and 6 guys. That's all they do. If you're installing a direct vent, the install crew can put it in and get it set up, but the gas crew has to come test the lines, do all the safety features, check it all out, check for gas leaks, and do all the stuff. So if it has anything to do with gas, now those guys are all cross-trained in chimneys. The gas division is cross-trained in chimneys, and they can do safety inspections. They can look at it. They can estimate repair work, but they're the only ones that touch gas, and that's their main thing. the chimney sweeps do not touch gas in my company. If you can get one guy to do it, but my point is, I've never been able to cross-train everybody. And then Kevin had a clarifying response, says, I mean for inspection purposes in general. So yeah, I think inspection purposes for sure. If you can get them NFI certified, I think it's very important for gas. And I think, so there's two certifications I fully believe in, which is the CSI certification and the NFI certification. Those two, to me, are the most important on inspection. And fire is a good inspection certification. It's not a certification. It might be. I think it's more like a, like a credit. But it's a very good inspection class as well. So I agree with that on inspection. But on doing the work, I specialize in divisions. As we grew, we kind of specialize. And you can even do it small. You can always have this guy that does this. I used to believe in cross-training everybody, and we're a lot better now that we do not cross-train everybody. You're a specialist in this division, and not that sometimes the work doesn't spill over and a repair crew has to sweep a chimney, but that's kind of how we work it. Hope that's clear. All right, so this is the meeting, and I'll just this is the anatomy of meeting. If you're keeping up, it is safety, it is vehicle issues and van checks, it is issues with yesterday's jobs, the green, orange, and red. It is then return trips. If we had those, why do we have, basically, I should say that's waste. Where do we see waste yesterday? It goes back to the lean, LEAN philosophy that you have for, like Toyota was the main manufacturer or the main proponents of lean, but that's a part of theirs. Ronnie Mangrum says the NFI book wording is much more difficult than the CSI, in my opinion. I agree with that. It is. It's a whole different process with NFI, but it is very different. Both CSI and NFI went through the same kind of rigor to make their manuals, which is through a thing called a psychometrician. So there's an outside service that you provide they did, studies on the industry. They help write the manual, make sure the wording's right. They also help write the testing, which is very important. So NFI and CSI both went through the same process to come up with that. In fact, we followed, when they did that, then we followed their lead on it. So we could be kind of sister relationships where we can refer back and forth and work together because we went through the same process. So good point, Ronnie. Okay, so then we do the return trips, then we do the wheel spin. So what I'm doing is trying to end on a good note is what I'm trying to do, or a positive note. Lighten the fuse, this part says. So then we do motivational. This is only on Mondays. We do Motivational Monday. And one of my technicians, pretty funny about it, he started singing it, and I can't sing, but he would sing Motivational Monday. And it was kind of get everybody ready. And this is where we brag on each other. Where in the last week did somebody help you? Did somebody go above and beyond? Were they there for you? Did they bring you the tool? Did they work extra for you? Did they come out and support you? Did they make that phone call and help you out? Where did we see the best teamwork? And this is important. So for us, get a little tick mark for the people who mention you, and then whoever has the most tick marks every quarter, we give them a prize. It's like I'm season hockey ticket holder. I give away season tickets. Sometimes we give away cash. We give away TVs. We've given away, remote control cars, like just something fun. So we support the people who support the team the most. And right now we have one of our newest guys is just running away with it. He's run away with it the last 2 months. He is just out to help everybody, and he's an amazing technician. Came from another company. He didn't have a lot of opportunity at that company, mostly a harsh shop, and he's just been amazing. Lights out. Everybody's like, that guy. I want that guy on my team. And so we're really he's going to win these awards. So then, okay, so that's I have somebody else run the meeting up to that point. That's a technician. That might be a salesman. It's the same guy probably for a year, and then we switch him out. So then we finish with announcements. Now, all this is very quick. I'm talking way longer than this meeting is. This meeting up to this point is about, 7 to 8 minutes. This is maybe 10 minutes to this point. So this is a quick meeting. This is not meant to be long and drawn out. Everybody's got to get going. And this is just a quick update on yesterday. And it just happens like this every day. So I end with announcements, and this is where I'll normally step into the meeting and they turn on the Zoom for the other divisions or anybody that's not there to record it. And I will go over any announcements, any things. I may actually talk about something that we're dealing with, which is, let's just say I had a customer complaint or I had an email or something about an issue. I will read the complaint and then I will read my response to it. I'll read how I had to fall on the sword or make it right by the customer or why they're upset. I will also read when I have to back up our team or how I respond to problems. The reason I think this is important is because they will respond to your customers the way you respond. It's a shadow of the leader principle. And when you teach them how you want to be, how you want to respond to things, they will do that in kind. They will do the same thing. And so it helps them understand you as a leader and you handling problems. And sometimes it's because they messed up. Sometimes it's because they neglected something or they made a mistake and now they see me having to deal with their problem. That's very important. It's very important for the team to understand how problems are addressed in the company, how problems are created, and then how we move through them. If we need to take care of it, or it's a customer deal, or a technician's got to go back out and fix something or make something right. So I also will announce, anything upcoming, holidays, holiday pay, holiday parties, just to be clear with everything. I might brag on somebody for an exceptional thing at that point, and then pretty much end the meeting. Let me clarify. I ask if anybody else has any announcements. So then some of my managers may have an announcement. They may need to say, yes, I need to tell everybody about this, or hey, stop parking in front of the dumpster, or hey, I need everybody to get their truck out of here right away. We got a delivery coming in, or whatever the situation for our particular company is. I will have managers talk, and then sometimes I have a technical person talk. Like I've got one other master sweep in my company, and I'm about to have 6 more guys that are going to be master sweeps in the next couple of months. And so we'll probably have 8 masters in our company. Well, with that, there's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of guys that have fought a lot of battles. I've got 10 people that have been with me over 10 years. And with that, they have a lot of knowledge and can help me fight a lot of battles. And so I want to let them speak as well. So another question, Mark, how long should a meeting be? To me, this is a 15-minute meeting tops. This particular meeting. Now, when the morning meetings, the Monday and Friday meetings for us, when Ray, my CFO, has his meetings, they're about 15 to maybe 20 minutes. Sometimes they go a little longer because he's trying to solve problems. But this meeting is a pretty quick meeting. If it goes 20 minutes, that's really, really stretching it for us. But I like it to be pretty succinct. You can't talk too much in a meeting anyway, especially new stuff, because nobody will remember it. So you need to kind of have one topic on the announcements part, one thing you need them to remember, and leave it at that. I think 2 meetings become terrible because they're too long. Oh, also what's very important, this is a stand-up meeting. Everybody is standing up and, circled up in the warehouse. I mean, every once in a while there's somebody sitting down on something, but it's most of the time it's a stand-up meeting because I think that's more important and more kind of getting the day going. I don't need the guys coming in, getting their trucks ready, and then sitting down and listen to somebody talk. Like, to me, that's not even at all in the rhythm of our morning. So, and I want it to be fun and maybe pick on somebody or maybe make somebody laugh or brag on somebody. And then at that point, we break up. I stay on the floor, and I want my managers to be there too, for technicians to come to me. And a lot of times they do need to, that, hey, I need to talk to you for a minute. I need to go over this or go over that. And so that's now this is to me the most important part. We made some announcements, what we're doing, and then I'm there for, and if nobody comes talks to me, I'll go find somebody, maybe somebody that hasn't talked to me for a while, or somebody that's kind of in the background, kind of not, they're kind of in the back. I'll go try to find them, see how they're doing, just give them some time with the guy, time with me, so that they know me, and that they will, aren't afraid to talk to me. And I always encourage people to complain, not in a bad, negative way, but when you see something wrong, I need to know it. You need to tell me things that are wrong. And I might not always be able to do something with it. I might not, you might have had to tell me 4 or 5 times before it gets changed. But if I agree with you that it's wrong, you better believe I will do something about it. I just have to. And I tell everybody, when you look around this building, and when you look at all these people and these trucks running, this is all built by people complaining, either customers complaining, me complaining, employees complaining, somebody complaining, and then we changed it. We made it better. Something went wrong. I found out about it and I fixed it. That's all business is. And ideally, as you build a business, you're always going to have problems to fix. That's just what business is. We fix problems. Ideally, they're different problems. Hopefully, they're higher level problems. Hopefully, they're better problems. Got way too much work. I got a lot of money I need to invest. But you always have some kind of problems. You don't get to build business without problems. And so that's just my day. That's my job, is to go in and handle problems. So the only way I can handle them or know about them is you tell me about them. As long as you're telling me about them face to face, I'll respect you all day long, even the hardest stuff. If it's something about me, or if it's something I need to do different, or be watching for this or that, or it's a process that's messing up. Whatever it is, this process is not working right. A lot of times it's the person not working the process right. When I talk to them and kind of point the finger back at them and help them understand, well, you're getting this result because you're doing this action. And it helps them understand. But sometimes they're absolutely right. Something is going out of balance and it needs to be fixed or needs to be looked at. And I always encourage people to come to me with their problems. I love them. In fact, I kind of love problem customers too. I like somebody. I don't want to be mad, but I also don't mind going in and fixing a problem. I kind of enjoy that. And sometimes if they are mad, I don't mind that either. I don't mind that battle. I'm by nature not confrontational, but I've learned that you have to be confrontational somewhat when it comes to your business. You can't be walked on. You can't be run over. Chad Murray on my personal page says, announcement: I showed up for our management meeting today. Master Services has 2 crew, 2 sales, and 1 call center meeting a week. So Chad, that's not what he does necessarily all the time. I'm telling you how I do it. Chad does it a different way. Chad has a way that works for him. And Chad showed up at, he has morning meetings too, and he showed up for him. And sometimes they're probably surprised you showed up. For me, there's no surprise. They know that I'm going to be there for most of those meetings, but there probably will come a day where it's a surprise if I show up. So, that's kind of how we do morning meetings. Cody says 3 sales meetings for Chad Murray. It looks like Chad set in on all of them. To me, it's how you get a feel for what's going on in the company. And ideally, they know how you're thinking about it and where we're going. That's the most important thing. All right, guys, we had a great round of talk today. I had really an amazing amount of people on. It looked like there's probably between everything, probably 40 or 50 people. And then when we resend this out and people watch it, there's probably 400 or 500 people that watch this. And so it means a lot. I'd love to hear topics. I'd love to hear new ideas. If you have any for shows that you'd like me to talk about, or like to be a guest on, or have a guest on talking about situations, I try to cover some tactical things in these meetings, And then I try to cover some thought process meetings or leadership or ideas on processes, because I know some people go real technical and that's it. They want to hear that, but some people want to hear less technical. I can tell you this. I was talking to a guy the other day that wants to be a manager, and he's currently a technician. And when I talked to him about, just stuff in general, he was all technical. When I talked to him, I could just tell that his mind was all technical. So at that point, he's really not, he doesn't think like a manager. And when you talk to somebody who manages and runs a business, they talk very differently than like technician kind of work. And so again, I think a lot of us in this business were expert technicians and novice business guys. And in this, if you're trying to grow, if you're inside a company and you're an employee, try to learn management leadership as much or more than technical. Now, that is if your boss wants that, but typically they may not pay for it. But when you become a leader, you'll also all kinds of doors open up for you. When you become better management, when you understand the whole thing instead of just the fixing of the broken thing, your life changes quite a bit. So I highly recommend management leadership types of books if you want to have, if you're a technician minded. Now, some people hate them. I remember Jim Brewer, when I talked to him about this, he's like, look, Mark, you keep telling me these leadership and self-development books. I hate them. He said, give me a code book any day. I'll read it cover to cover and love it. That's how Jim's mind is wired. And he's a technician through and through, the best technician out there that I know of. Great. And that's what he wants and knows. But if you're trying to manage a lot of people and run a lot of people, and I think, a split of those. Now Jim and his wife worked as a team. And so that's one thing that they had that's very special. I, for one, I don't have that in my business. I have to kind of pick and choose. I was the technician for 17 years and then had to learn management and all this stuff I'm showing you today and all these times. It's almost none of it is stuff I invented. It was stuff that I picked up from somebody else and used it in my own company and tweaked it my own way. And that's what I highly recommend you do with any of these SureFire Lives or podcasts or whatever. So, all right, guys, that's my time. I got just a couple minutes before the hour, and I want to, again, reach out to me if you have any ideas for shows. Thank you for all your input, and we'll talk to you next week.